Please, I will call you back.
Who was that on the phone?
It was just my mother.
Why are you looking so scared? Is that Daniel? Are you in love with him?
I don't know.
I can't believe this.
At 11:47 on a Saturday night, Mrs. Ifoma stood barefoot in her kitchen with a phone pressed against her ear, listening to a man's voice on the other end. Her hands were shaking, not because she was afraid of the person speaking, because she knew that if she answered his question honestly, the life she had spent 16 years building could change before sunrise. "Mrs. Ifoma," she closed her eyes. "Yes." "Are you still there?" "Yes, I'm here." The voice became softer. "I need you to tell me something." She swallowed. "What?" "Do you want me to come back?" Ifoma's eyes moved toward the staircase. Upstairs, her husband was awake. She knew because she had heard his footsteps several minutes earlier. He had gone into the bedroom without saying a word. The man on the phone waited. Ifoma pressed her free hand against the kitchen counter. "I don't know." "You do." "No." "You do, Ifoma." She flinched. He rarely called her by her first name. For years he had called her Mrs. Ifoma, sometimes Ma, sometimes Madame. But tonight his voice carried something different, something that reminded her of the first evening they had talked for hours at the estate gate. She whispered, "Daniel, please. I'm not asking you to lie. I know." "Then tell me the truth." Ifoma looked toward the dark hallway. Her husband was somewhere upstairs. Her children were asleep in their rooms. Everything she had spent years protecting was still inside that house. Her family, her marriage, her reputation, her business. And yet, there was a man on the phone who had somehow found a place inside her heart that she had never invited him into. "Daniel?" "Yes." "If you come back, everything becomes harder." There was silence. Then he said, "Maybe it was never supposed to be easy." Ifoma's eyes filled with tears. She immediately wiped them away. "Don't say things like that." "Why?" "Because I'm trying to do the right thing." "I know. And you make it difficult." "I know that too." She looked at the clock. 11:49. Then footsteps sounded upstairs. Her husband was coming down. Ifoma's breathing changed. "Daniel, I have to go." "Okay." She hesitated. "Take care of yourself." "You too." She ended the call. For a few seconds, she simply stood there. Then she heard Emeka's voice. "Who were you talking to?" Ifoma turned. Her husband stood at the entrance to the kitchen. He was wearing a white t-shirt and dark trousers. His expression was unreadable. She placed the phone on the counter. "No one." Emeka looked at the phone, then at her. "You're awake at midnight, talking to no one." "I couldn't sleep." "So you called no one?" Ifoma's heart pounded. "Emeka!" He didn't raise his voice. That made it worse. "Was it Daniel?" Silence. The question remained between them. Ifoma looked at her husband. For 16 years, she had known his face better than anyone. She knew when he was angry, when he was tired, when he was worried, when he was pretending not to care. Tonight, she saw something she hadn't seen in a long time. Pain. "Was it him?" he asked again. Ifoma opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Emeka nodded slowly. "I understand." "No, you don't." "Then explain it to me." She looked down. "I can't." "Why?" "Because I don't know how we got here." He stared at her. Neither spoke. Then Emeka asked quietly, "Do you love him?" The question struck harder than any accusation could have. Ifoma's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to say no. She wanted to protect her marriage with one simple word. But after everything that had happened, lying felt worse. Her lips trembled. "I don't know." Emeka looked away. That answer was enough. He turned and walked upstairs. Ifoma remained in the kitchen. She didn't follow him. She couldn't. Instead, she leaned against the counter and covered her face. 16 years. 16 years of marriage. And somehow, the question that had once seemed impossible was now sitting inside her home. she had feelings for another man. Not just any man. The man who stood at the estate gate. The man she had first noticed because he carried her groceries. The man who listened when she spoke. The man who had reminded her what it felt like to be noticed. His name was Daniel. And before this night ended, she would have to decide what his place in her life really was. But to understand how a married woman could reach this point, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to the day Daniel first walked through the gates of her estate. If you enjoy stories that pull you in quickly and keep the emotions real, subscribe to Black Earth Stories, because this one is only beginning. 16 years earlier, Ifoma had married Emeka with almost nothing. They didn't have a large house, they didn't have expensive cars, they didn't have savings that could impress anybody. They had a small rented apartment with 2 rooms, a leaking kitchen tap, and a landlord who reminded them about rent every few months. But they were happy. At least, they thought they were. Emeka used to come home from work and sit on the floor while Ifoma cooked. He would tell her stories about his day. She would complain about her customers. Sometimes, they would argue over small things. Then, they would laugh before the argument had even finished. One evening, shortly after their wedding, Ifoma burned dinner. She stood in the kitchen, staring at the pot. Oh no. Emeka walked in. What happened? I ruined the food. He opened the pot. The rice was almost black. He looked at her. She expected him to complain. Instead, he burst out laughing. Why are you laughing? You said you could cook. I can cook. This is evidence against you. She folded her arms. Then don't eat it. He laughed harder. Ifoma. What? Come here. No. Come. She reluctantly walked toward him. He pulled her close. Let's eat bread. She laughed. You're not angry. Angry over rice? Yes. I married you, not rice. She smiled. Those were the moments she remembered years later. Not the expensive gifts. Not the vacations. Not the renovated house. The small things. The laughter. The conversations. The feeling that somebody was genuinely interested in her. Then the children came. Their first child was a daughter, Chidinma. 3 years later, their son, Kelechi, was born. Life became busier. Emeka's building material business grew. Ifoma began catering for small events. They moved into a better apartment. Eventually, they bought their own house. Then, they moved into the estate. From the outside, everything looked perfect, but success brought responsibilities. Emeka spent more time at work. Ifoma spent more time running her catering business. Their children became teenagers. Bills increased. School fees increased. The house became larger. But somehow, their conversations became smaller. They no longer sat outside talking until midnight. They no longer laughed over burnt food. They no longer asked each other questions that had nothing to do with bills or responsibilities. Emeka wasn't deliberately ignoring her. He simply became accustomed to assuming she was fine. That assumption slowly became a habit, and the habit became a distance. One evening, Ifoma prepared dinner. She placed the plates on the table. Her daughter was upstairs studying. Her son was watching football. Emeka arrived around 9:30 p.m. Good evening, Ifoma said. Good evening. He washed his hands and sat down. How was your day? She asked. Busy. Everything okay? Yes. He began eating. Ifoma sat across from him. She waited. Nothing. Finally, she asked, Emeka, do you remember the first apartment we lived in? He smiled slightly. Yes. The one with the leaking roof? He laughed. How can I forget? You used to complain every time it rained, because water was falling on my pillow. Ifoma smiled. You were dramatic. You were the one who refused to move, because we couldn't afford it. They both laughed. For a few seconds, it felt like the old days. Then Emeka's phone vibrated. He picked it up. The conversation ended. Ifoma watched him. He read a message, then another. She looked down at her plate. The moment was gone. Is something wrong? She asked. Business. Oh, silence. She tried again. Do you ever miss those days? Emeka looked up. What days? When we had almost nothing. He smiled. Sometimes. I miss them. Why? She hesitated. Because you talk to me more. Emeka's expression changed. Ifoma, I'm not fighting with you. I know. I just miss you. He put down his phone. I am here. She looked at him. No, you're physically here. He stared at her. She continued softly. Sometimes I feel like I'm married to your responsibilities. Emeka sighed. I'm doing all this for us. I know. Then what do you want from me? Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know. That was the truth. She didn't want another man. She didn't want to leave her marriage. She didn't want to destroy her family. She simply wanted the man she married to look at her again, to ask about her dreams,